Hi, how's it going, everyone? This is Antoine Walsh. This is my test modification project presentation for TESOL 5311, Principles and Practices of Language Testing. So my student that I worked with this term, his name, well, I'll call him Daisuke. He was 14, third grade junior high school student. Um, just taking these standard public school EFL classes. He Last year he passed the ACAN level 4 proficiency test. That's like the main um, English proficiency test given to students and adults in Japan. It's used for high school admissions and college admissions. And yeah, that indicates that he's average or above average compared to uh, his peers. The level 4 test assesses ability to understand simple words, phrases, short sentences, and all the 4 skills. And the test actually now it's starting to include in internet-based recorded interview to assess speaking. So yeah, and he passed that, and uh, he he told me that he generally gets decent grades, um, but he expressed that he has a hard time with speaking and writing, and he felt that English grammar can be difficult. So this is pretty typical of students his age in Japan, and you have to remember that they don't have much opportunity to speak, unlike if you're a ESL student if you're living in the United States. So you have your English classes, lots of opportunity for input, and nowadays there's YouTube and technology more, where you can certainly hear a lot of English, but you don't get as much opportunity to practice speaking. So, like he mentioned, that's something he struggled with. So, this is the test he allowed me to show. He allowed me to see. Oops. There's a fill in the blank task here, multiple choice, like a rewriting prompt, like write this in the negative, write this using it, that kind of thing, and a couple word reordering tasks, and then one sort of direct translation. It's a direct translation using a set amount of words, so like 5 words, 4 words. And I found this test to be it was a valid test in terms of content validity. For It was testing several things, but one of them is the conjugation of present tense verbs that are used with third person subjects. So like Christina plays the piano. It's the S you're adding there. So it was valid in terms of content. It's a very practical test. Easy to administer, easy to grade. It's not like an open-ended essay or something like that. That would take much more time and focus. And it's a low stakes formative test. So the teacher's free to make any necessary corrections and write comments, which allows for beneficial washback. I would say the weaknesses, those kinds of tests like this with multiple choice questions, I think a word reordering tasks, that kind of thing, I think they lack authenticity. In the real world, if you're trying to form a sentence, you're not going to have the words in the wrong order presented in your brain that you can pick from. that's not necessarily authentic real world language. It's a form focused test, with less of a communicative focus, and the Ministry of Education in Japan they make it clear that their objectives very much are push communicative language teaching, and it's not to say there's no place for form focused tests like this, but I do feel, just from what I've observed, that a lot of class time is devoted towards like form focused grammatical activities, and I think these kinds of tests take away from time that could be used for more CLT type stuff. And I just felt that it would be better if it was more integrated with some kind of a listening or speaking task. So what I decided to do was change this multiple choice question, because when I thought about Daisuke's language proficiency, really this is a little bit overly scaffolded for him, and I suspected and wound up being right that he is capable of producing a sentence like this on his own. He doesn't need to have it like provided for him with like an option of words to choose from. So I set it up so like the italics would be a Japanese prompt, but just rewrite the sentences in English, and take note of the underlined word in Japanese is kind of like a hint for use this content that was recently learned. So for you call, looks, like I just mentioned, that's the present tense conjugation here. Akira looks sleepy, and yeah. So by modifying that this way, I think it meets Daisuke's proficiency better. It's more of a challenge for him. There's more opportunity for him to make a mistake. He didn't make any mistakes on the multiple choice, but when I administered this, he made a few spelling mistakes. Nothing regarding the content, but he made some spelling mistakes, which I was able to correct, and that turned out to be beneficial washback for a language objective, which that being writing. And I also modified this sixth task, which originally was a direct translation given in a set amount of words, and I turned this into a speaking activity that would utilize some kind of recording software, which would be a good way to incorporate some technology and make the test a little bit more integrated in terms of skills, and give them a chance to practice some form-focused speaking, which he mentioned is one of the skills he lacked confidence in. So what he would do would be, instead of just writing this out, he would speak it into some kind of recording program and submit it along with a test with like a USB, or it depends on the circumstances, but somehow submit a recording, and yeah, I think that would make this a good, more integrated test overall. The downside would be the practicality. I mean, you have to think if that was done in say a classroom, how would you do that so that other students wouldn't hear you say the answers? So by doing that, it's not very practical. But if it could be done, it would be nice to have a more integrated test. So in conclusion, my overall takeaway was that even if you have a valid a test that's valid in terms of content, it can always be, when you take into account the test taker's proficiency level, you might be able to change the test, make it a little bit more difficult, maybe a little bit easier in a different scenario, and um, be able to make a formative test that has more beneficial washback, um, with not just the content objectives, but the language objectives, um, because the ultimately, like, we're studying English, and if you can uh, develop your pronunciation on a test that's for some kind of grammatical objective, then it's good to be developing your language ability overall, along with the content of the test. So okay, thank you for listening, and um, take care.